Hi, it's Sally, and I recently returned from 12 days of hiking through Norway and Sweden, starting Beisfjord, heading across the border to Kebnekaise, and then north along the Kungsleden to Abisko. I had an amazing time. I made a video beforehand showing exactly what I brought with me, so I'm going to show you that, and then I'll come back and tell you what I would do differently and what my VIP pieces of gear were. So I'll start with my shoes. I'm bringing my Salomon Speedcross 6s. They're super grippy. I am potentially going to be hiking across a sort of flat glacier. I think these will be really good for that, and just for slippery rocks and drying out quick if it's really rainy. These are not the Gore-Tex ones. They should dry out faster. Next we have my pack. Same pack I have been using all the time lately. Asia Pro 55 from Osprey. Super lightweight. So far I've really liked this pack. My sleep system will be this Thermarest Parsec -6. Not the warmest sleeping bag, but I will be wearing all my extra layers on this trip. So to help keep me warmer at night than I was on my last trip, which was in Scotland, and I got a bit cold, I upgraded my sleeping mat to this winter mat. Vita Summit Etherlight XR Pro Thermacore Regular. It is an R value of 7, which is going to be a huge improvement for me. These Vita Summit ones have the most amazing pump stuff sack on them so that you don't have to blow up your mattress every night, and that's what I really like about them. I've got a little pillow for my tent. I've got my handy dandy Marmot Tungsten UL 1 person. They don't make this anymore. I've got a couple extra pegs this time because I learned last time that if the wind is blowing you might lose one or two. I've got all of the ropes tied on here for wind resistance. I've got this piece of window covering plastic. If you don't know about this, make sure you Google this. Instead of buying a footprint for your tent, you can just buy this plastic material that goes over your windows in the winter and make yourself a really ultralight, cheap footprint. I've used this for quite a while now and it's still going strong. I have this pair of Black Diamond Youth First Strike hiking poles, rain gear. I have this same Helly Hansen 3-layer Gore-Tex delightful jacket. Worked really well for me in the Scottish Highlands. Something I look for is a set of pockets that are pretty high up so you can still access them above your waist strap belt. These are my rain pants. They're Helly Hansen. They're like work grade rain pants. For my warm layers, I've got an Arc'teryx Cerium jacket, the hood, and new this trip, I have this ridiculous pair of nature hike down pants. They look ridiculous, and I'm probably not going to be hiking in these because it would be too hot, but for just hanging out at camp and for sleeping, I think this is going to keep me really toasty because my sleeping bag is not really meant for super cold temperatures, and I often get cold at night when it's like near freezing, so I think these will be really a great addition. So clothes that I'll be wearing most of the trip, well, the whole trip, because they're the only things that I'm bringing to wear. Merino long sleeve. These are the best. It's never going to get hot, so that's going to be sufficient. Also got this sort of microgrid type fleece, the hood from Mountain Hardware. Quite affordable, and they weigh like nothing because they're made out of this weird technical fabric. This one has a hood and a little mouth guard kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to sleeping in this because I found that when I had one without a hood, I kind of had to wrap my buff around my head. Or you need a hat or something just to kind of keep your face off the synthetic sleeping bag. So I think sleeping in this will be really nice. Unfortunately, black does attract mosquitoes, but hopefully they'll be gone. For daytime wear, if it's cold, I decided to buy a second pair of merino long johns to wear under my pants. My pants are just some nylon hiking pants from Kebnekaise that are like fairly rain resistant and fairly tough. I wish they had more pockets, like a cargo pocket, but they actually look quite nice too. For nighttime, very similar. I just have a second pair of merino long johns for my bottoms and a warm Patagonia Capeline base layer for my top. So that's really all the clothes that I'm bringing. I don't think it's going to be very hot, so I don't think I need shorts or a t-shirt. And nobody's really going to be around a lot of the time, so I might smell a bit, but the merino should help with that. Now, socks. I always bring a pair of these Inji toe socks. These are really good if I start to get blisters. And then a regular pair of wool socks. And these are good because they don't get nearly as smelly as the synthetic Inji ones. They're also nice and warm. At the last second, I decided to add one additional pair of wool socks just because when I was hiking in Scotland, I noticed my socks got pretty nasty and I wanted to be able to just have an extra pair of clean ones to wear during the day. And then I bring a third pair of wool socks that are warm just for sleeping. You're not allowed to wear these at any other time. They gotta stay dry. For their accessories, got some head gloves that I bought at Costco. Got a merino buff. Really like wearing these. Often I wear it as a hat, but I decided because I am going north of the Arctic Circle, maybe I should also bring this little merino toque. So I'll probably be wearing these at night. And all of my things have hoods too, so it may seem like overkill, but so much of your heat leaves through your head, so I think it's always good to have extra layer. Other than that, just have a sports bra, 2 pairs of undies, wash them as I go, and a hat to protect my face from the sun because the daylight hours are going to be very long even now, even though it's approaching fall there. So I think it's easy to overlook how much more sun you're getting when the days are just that long, even if the sun's not super intense. It's just so much exposure. I noticed that in Iceland. A few other little items. I always bring some dollar store bags to keep my extra clothes in, just keep them together, mitts, that kind of thing. I bring a little towelette for wiping out my tent should it get wet inside, heaven forbid. A headlamp, got the battery charging right now. This is a really nice Petzl one that gets really bright. It has an awesome rechargeable battery, love it. A backup battery pack. So this is a brand new one, Nightcore Gen 3. It's actually got a carbon fiber case to keep it super lightweight and strong. This is the lightest one that you can get right now for the amount of power it stores. And I know that at least one of the huts on the Norwegian side, I'll actually be able to recharge this, which is awesome because I want to vlog a bit. So I definitely want to have some extra power so I can do that and also to navigate from my phone. And I'll be able to charge it on the Swedish side as well, I think. So of course, adapter, a cord, and the adapter for those Norwegian and Swedish plugs. I actually need to make sure this also works in Sweden. Don't ever forget the cords you need to actually charge your devices, including your phone. I've got an SOS beacon inside this sunglasses case. I have a video on this type of beacon and I've had it a long time. I had to get the battery replaced. ACR Rescue Link. They look a little bit different now, but you can put the antenna up and press an SOS button and somebody will come and rescue me. And it's going to be extra effective up there because there's no tree cover or anything. So should I get, caught somewhere, I will get rescued. So other small things, toiletries, try to just stick with the absolute most basic things, but I do have a little tiny shampoo in here because in some of the huts they do have showers in the Swedish side, so it might be nice to have a shower at some point. Got toilet paper. It's the whole Costco roll. I feel like it's too much, but of course I got my poop scoop. Got a first aid kit. Also has a compass in it. It's not really a first aid kit. It has very few actual first aid supplies. It's mostly just bits of medication that I think might be really handy, and some antibiotic cream, which I think is one of the most useful things, and a whole bunch of band-aids and sort of blister supplies. I've got sunscreen and bug spray. Hoping the bug season is totally over. I will have a chance to find out before I actually depart on my hike, and in which case I'll get rid of bug spray. I don't need very much sunscreen because my body's going to be mostly covered up most of the time. So. Also got some sunscreen, lip balm. I have a watch. Love having a watch. I like to be able to check the time in the middle of the night without having to get out my phone or turn on my phone. And it's just nice to be able to check the time easily as I'm walking to kind of keep track of my pace. And also because sometimes my phone has done me wrong when I'm in a different time zone and it just gets confused about what time zone it's in, whereas this never changes on its own. Sunglasses, because the sun's going to be up low on the horizon like all day, so these will be probably save my sanity. Got a whole bunch of food. I need to buy some more granola bars, but this should be about 8 days worth of food, and I'm going to be able to resupply about halfway through my trek at one of the really big lodges that's out in the Swedish wilderness. You should always have an extra day or two of food. Okay, kitchen stuff. I have a mug. This is my luxury item. When you're hiking in cold weather, it is so nice to stop and have a hot second cup of coffee or tea or whatever, sort of halfway through the morning. Love that. I have this tiny titanium pot from Japan and decided to bring this dish so that I can have my multi-course breakfast. Maybe some instant noodles in here and oatmeal in there without having to, spend like an hour like re-boiling water over and over again. Got a stove, comes with a windshield thing that also helps the water boil faster by reflecting the heat back on it. But the only reason I can use that is I have this special stove with a hose so that you can put this around it. It sort of unfurls. Do not do that with a regular Bunsen burner stove because the fuel can get really hot and blow up. I do need to buy fuel when I get there. Can't bring it on the airplane, so I'm gonna buy it at a sports store when I arrive. Matches and a lighter in a Ziploc bag, very important. Finally, I always keep my spork in here, or I try to. It's a really long one. You can dip way in there. It's great. Folds in half. Got a Life Straw water bottle. So this filters out viruses, bacteria, and protozoa. I got my map of the area, and I have drawn some markings on it in permanent marker to show my route. And this is going to be awesome to be able to like review and just get an understanding of the landscape. Also, really important, don't want to neglect this, wallet. Some currency both for Norway and Sweden because I will be hiking into Sweden, so I need to bring my cash with me. Passport and my debit credit cards and things will go in there too. One more thing, I have these special garbage bags that I put everything in, 2 of them. One for my bedroll stuff and pajamas, the other for everything else. They are special garbage bags. I have a video about them, look it up. And they are indestructible and will keep all my stuff dry inside my pack. So, super important. VIP here. So that is it. We'll see how it goes. I'm gonna vlog too, so subscribe if you want to see how this goes. All right, so I'm back from the trip. It was amazing, and I'm going to share what did and didn't work. So first of all, what worked? My choice of shoe was excellent. On the Norwegian side, I had to walk through quite a few rivers, and being able to keep these on and knowing that they dry fairly fast because they're not Gore-Tex, they're not heavy leather, was awesome. And also I had to walk on some very slippery rocks of various descriptions, which if you watch the vlog, you're going to see what I mean. Having really grippy shoes was really helpful, including on the Swedish side along the Kungsleden. There's a lot of rocks on the path, and if it's raining, it's going to be slippery. You want something flexible and grippy because your ankles are going to be having to navigate that sort of uneven terrain. And I think having big, heavy, clunky, stiff boots would make that really hard. Also, likewise, having really flat bottom trail runners, I think would not be a good idea on either the Norwegian side or the Swedish side because the grip just would not be as good. Secondly, my rain gear worked really well. Especially, I just love these pants, and most people do not hike in these kinds of pants. I can't help you with the model name. These are about 15 years old. and I believe they're actually intended for workwear, and they also help keep me warm when it's chilly. They're not very breathable, so I have to take them off as soon as I start to get warm. But for around camp, for sitting in the mud and not getting any moisture through them, they're amazing. And just that extra layer of warmth. I wore them a lot. They are heavy and bulky, but when you wear them a lot, that doesn't really matter so much. Another really useful piece of equipment was this little towelette. It's like a ShamWow or something that I cut down. I didn't actually have to wipe condensation or rainwater out of my tent really this time because I was quite lucky with the weather. But where this really came in handy is that I stopped and I camped near Kebnekaise Fjallstation, where you can pay for a day pass and you get to use the sauna. And you are required to sit on a towel in the sauna. And so this is exactly the right size for somebody to sit on. My thick wool socks were awesome. I alternated between them and was able to actually keep dry feet for the second week of the trip, which was awesome. The first week they were soaked, but because they're such thick wool socks, my feet never really got cold, even when they were absolutely sopping wet for the first 5-6 days. I was totally fine. Now, these ones in particular, Wigwam, they gave me a bit of a blister because they have this sort of built-in arch support section, which is very comfortable, but it did cause some extra rubbing. So I was glad that I was able to trade them out for another pair. So I was glad that I brought the extra socks this trip. However, I never actually ended up wearing my Ninja socks, which has never happened because usually I start to get blisters and then I have to put these on. But because the distances were shorter than normal, because the terrain's just kind of tricky, so I scheduled shorter days, I never actually really got blisters on my toes, so I didn't have to resort to these. Now, things I would change. I brought this life straw, and I do think this was a good choice, especially because once I got there, I realized that there was animal droppings everywhere. That is poop, reindeer poop, other animals. It was just everywhere. And so having a really thorough filtration system, I think is a good idea. And this is rare in that it filters for bacteria, viruses, and parasites. However, I forgot to test this before I left. I meant to, and then I forgot, and it sort of clogged, and it was really hard to get any water out of it, especially because even at the best of times, you really have to like work hard at getting this out, and it's kind of a slow drip that comes out. And so if you're walking and you can sip at the same time, that's fine. However, the terrain where I was in Norway and Sweden, it was pretty hard to do that a lot of the time because I really had to be paying attention to where I was walking. And in Norway, I was also like wayfinding at the same time and just trying to drink through this straw while I was navigating this tricky terrain and using my poles and, looking at my map and everything. It was just too hard. So I ended up hardly drinking anything through this. It was quite annoying. And instead, I just boiled a lot of water instead and would just bring it with me in my mug. And sometimes boil water like partway through the day and have a cup of tea. So I really wish I had tested this. And I would say like maybe it's better to bring some other filtration system that doesn't require you to like stop and just drink for like 20 minutes to get an actual like good amount of water in you. Especially because stopping, north of the Arctic Circle to drink water for 20 minutes, you're going to wind up getting pretty cold after that. Like I started to get chilly every time that I stopped, except for, a few days when the sun was out and it was quite warm. So this was maybe not the best, although it would have been better if I had tested it and replaced the filter. The only thing that I didn't have that I wish that I brought was this little backpacker's pantry bowl. It's intended for cooking, but I use it to do laundry when I travel. You can fill it up with some warm water and a little bit of soap, and this just would have been really nice for like socks and underwear and stuff. Maybe my top, had I decided to ever wash it, which I never did, because washing things in rivers and streams and lakes, I realized was a bad idea because the water is so cold that first of all, it's kind of hard to get things clean in that temperature, but it's also really the last thing you want to do when it's cold and the water's freezing is to have your hands in the water for any extended period of time. So I really wish that I brought this. I mean, it shrinks down to like nothing. It hardly weighs anything. Other than that, I used everything that I brought. I do think that the 2 pairs of long johns was maybe a bit of overkill. And by the way, these down pants were so toasty at night. I love them. Just 1 pair of long johns to wear at night with these would have been sufficient because I didn't really need to wear a pair during the day. It wasn't really quite cold enough for that, especially when I had my rain pants that I could use if it was a colder day, along with my regular hiking pants. I didn't really need the 3 layers. And in fact, the one day that I did that, I actually ended up a bit chilled because the long johns got a bit sweaty inside. So in terms of the temperature, it never went down to freezing, even in the middle of the night. And I was a little bit cold the first number of nights, even with these down pants and my long johns and all of my layers on top and having my sleeping bag around my face. I was still a little bit chilly, but not chilly enough to keep me up at night. I did notice that my new sleeping mat, which is a winter sleeping mat, probably didn't make a lot of difference in comparison to a summer sleeping mat, because the ground I was sleeping on was usually like mossy, heathery stuff that doesn't get super cold. So I didn't really need to be insulated from that in order to stay warm. I would say that the winter mat was awesome because it's thicker, and because I was sleeping on this sort of mossy surface that it was a little bit bumpy, it sort of smoothed out those bumps, and I just had the best sleeps on that mat. So I think that alone makes the extra weight and size of that winter mat worthwhile, at least for me, because of just my body and the way that I sleep. I will definitely be using that again, even if it's not super cold. My only other regret is once I got to Norway, I picked up some fuel in this size of canister, which was enough for 12 days, and I never needed any more, especially since I was able to use the gas in the huts a couple of times. However, because I just cannot turn down a free thing, I picked up a small canister on my 2nd or 3rd day from one of the huts because someone had left it there and it was full. And I carried that sucker the whole rest of the trip and I never used it. So this is my 2nd time doing that. Last time, the one that I picked up wasn't the right type of nozzle, so I wasn't able to use it. And this time I just didn't even need it. The huts, they all have gas stoves, and so you don't need to be quite so paranoid about making sure that you have enough fuel for yourself, because you can always go in and use one of those on a day use basis or overnight. And also some of the huts in Sweden still had things left for sale, including fuel, and so I could have also bought some if there weren't any free ones lying around, which I think generally there are. So that was my only other gear regret. I really just need to say no to the free fuel.